piece of generational identity is something that we are fighting a lot for on this team, that I have been fighting a lot for on this team, and that people are like pretty resonant with. I think we've also undergone very traumatic experiences over the past year in the midst of a financial crisis and a pandemic that has garnished a new way that the public views the role of our economy and who it prioritizes and who it doesn't. So another thing that from those experiences, from that analysis of the world, that I've been fighting for a lot on this team is how do we actually incorporate ideology into Sunrise Movement? So through studying movements of the past and understanding how ideology, especially left ideology, has been attacked in this country, we've been able to surmise the ways that ideology has been cast away from movements and how it's been succumbed to, or like confined to, like solely academic spaces. And one of the things that I've been battling a lot with, or not battling a lot with, but campaigning on really on this team, is how to engage with ideology properly and usefully on this team. Because I think there's a lot of trauma too here from the more millennial people on this team who have seen how ideology has gotten in the way of good organizing when we talk about morality politics and like, if you don't believe this, then you're like a terrible person. And so how do we actually bake ideology into our story in a way that's able to give us accountability to a vision of the world that we're trying to achieve, rather than just trying to go for the next media hit or for the next policy win every time without a broader vision of the world that we're trying to achieve.
I think this was big because I think I felt really confused about ideology at one point. I felt like it was super daunting, and I was not a part of the left from like an academic or ideological perspective. I did not join because I identified as a young socialist. And I think both the great thing about our ideology conversations for me has been the value of ideology and the value of Sunrise having an ideological vision that is not so dogmatic and is not about Twitter fights and is not about purity, but is actually about changing the way that we think the world can operate. And I think in some ways ideology was very freeing. And even though I didn't feel very tied to my own personal ideology and I felt very clear. I was like, these are the values that I hold, and this is what I believe every person has a right to. And I felt very clear that capitalism was not it. But I was like, I don't know. I didn't know where I went beyond that.
Yes, and I remember when I studied abroad, I was a junior in college, never heard of Marx, never read anything by Marx, and started reading. We read parts of Das Kapital and started reading these pieces on neoliberalism, and I felt capitalism. I saw when my dad, he worked at Southwest and would leave at 3 a.m. and come back tired to go work at his barbershop. Could see capitalism and feel it, but I was I didn't know the name of this system. And so it's how do we understand that people feel the experience and maybe also always don't have the language, and how do we work with that, and not use our language as a way to isolate people.